Yeah, that's wonderful. Let's do our identity prayer, get ourselves centered here. I know that within myself there is that life which is perfect, complete, divine. It was never born and cannot die, for it lives and is God. Within myself is the wholeness, peace, poise, and power of life. This life is health. It is abundance, it is love. There is one life, and it is the life of God, and this is my life now, and so it is. Yeah. So I think you guys need more of a pink experience today. So it's good to see everybody. I was not here last Sunday. I was in Sacramento, California last weekend. We did a workshop. How many of you are in a service circle at the center? If you are, would you stand? Just stand. These are the people that manage this center. Look at this. Yeah. All right. Thank you. So I went to Sacramento to share how incredibly organized we are around the idea of sacred service, and spoke to representatives from 20 Science of Mind communities in Northern California. We had like 100 people there. It was an amazing day, and a lot of people saw the value of what we're doing. And I would have nothing to talk about had you all not seen that vision and made it happen here, which you certainly have. And if you're not in a service circle, there's a list of most of them. We've got a little bit of editing to do out there, but most of them on the wall in the social hall. Take a peek and see if there's a place you'd like to play. There's always good stuff to do. So I had a great weekend. Those of you that remember, I did my turn away from the condition talk last Sunday, and with the balloons. And we had a good time with that. The community in Sacramento really liked that. And then I came home. I thought I was coming home on Monday, but Delta Airlines had different plans for me. But I got home late Tuesday. It's just how it works, so you make it work. And it was a great trip. And so being home, it's been a wonderful week. But I have a confession to make. It's time to go ahead and do this. This PowerPoint thing that happens here doesn't do itself. We have people that have all along, since we put a projector in this room, have handled this in a wonderful way. Christy handled it for many years. She's walking across the back of the room. Right now, Barbara Lovejoy handles that. And she gets that information to us so that we can put this up and have it ready to go for Sunday. Let's give Barbara Lovejoy a hand. And then Barbara or Mark or any member of the PowerPoint team get us through it. Sometimes it works flawlessly, and sometimes we back up and get the lyrics that we're meant to get. And it's all perfect. It's all wonderful. And I mention that because the confession in all of that is that it's all done in the week sometime and brought in here and put on the computer back there, everything except when I'm speaking. Because I always have to have something that's churning in me. So usually on Sunday morning, I'm pulling it up and trying to put it together and add my stuff and not drive whoever's back there crazy with the stuff that I want to go. And I did that this morning. I was up at 4 actually, and got over here about 5 and started dabbling with it to come up with what I wanted to. And I went to, I had my topic. It's called Circle of Life, as you can see. And I got this image off of Google Images. You all familiar with Google Images? It's amazing the stuff on there. And there were so many cool things under Circle of Life, and I put that in, that I want to share some of them with you. And they're on the next slide. These were some of the images I found on Google Images. And they are quite amazing. There's this, look at this one here. That is a whole configuration of circles put together. Isn't that brilliant? And this you'll recognize, that's what happens when you take a picture of a sunrise, how it gives you that halo all the way around, that circle, isn't that beautiful? And of course that one was just irresistible to get the one that actually said the name of my talk. But here's the most interesting thing I found on Google Images this morning, was that there were pages and pages of images, but on the first page, in the first position, was this. Now my guess is that changes all the time. But at that moment in time, when I saw that, I was absolutely stunned. And I called a barber. She was down at her office. It was about 6 a.m. Barbara, come here! Because, you know, we take a lot of hits in our movement saying that we're just a very insignificant spiritual movement in the world, and that we're, you know, that we just are off in the corner somewhere. But when that was in the #1 position on Google this morning, I thought, that's a good thing. That really says who we are. So I was very happy. So, circle of life. There are things going on in my life that really call me to this idea of understanding how life is organized. We don't really get it in our daily lives, the fact that we're a part of something extraordinary. We get into the details and the things that need to get done and the things that don't work when expectations aren't met and all the other drama and issues of our lives. We get into all that and we kind of forget that there's something elegant going on. There's something extraordinary going on, and we are essential to that. We lose our place in the cosmos, and we think that life is not working, but it is. It's working perfectly. Lots of people know that, and great wisdom keepers have shared that information for thousands of years. But it's good to remember, because we get all caught up in the day-to-day stuff that's going on. And this is our opportunity to maybe look at it again, look at life again, and see how that fits together. One of my favorite ways of doing that is to talk about the circle of life, the idea that life actually works in circles. And the elegance of that is so wonderful. And my favorite teaching of the circle comes from the sacred hoop, the sacred medicine wheel of the native people. And there's a saying that the Lakota have. It's called Mitakriyasa. And what that means is all my relations, or I am one with all things. And we forget that. We somehow think that we're separate, and that we're not. So I want to show you how our teaching and our founder spoke to that very idea in a book that I just recently picked up. It's called Discover a Richer Life by Ernest Holmes. I'm going to read this to you, so go along with me as we go. We have long been dividing ourselves as well as the universe into small, unrelated segments. We have been so busy doing this that we have forgotten how everything is part of one stupendous whole. We have separated spirit from mind and mind from body. We have isolated living things from that which causes them to live. The stars and the atoms we consider apart from that which creates and sustains them. There comes a time when it is necessary to put things back together again. We start by correlating and integrating the knowledge we have into a unified practical system of thought for our greater benefit in everyday living. It is not meant that there are lofty ideas in the world and then there's everyday living. It's the same thing. And when we understand our place in the universe, our incredibly significant, important place in the universe, then we have this ability to live our everyday lives with that level of understanding and creating that level of outcome. But when we forget and get caught up in our stuff, we live in that world of separateness, that world of multiplicity that does not serve us. The greatness of our lives is that we understand who we are in this magical, mystical cosmos, that we have great authority to create our lives as one of those circles and circles in a way that really works. So I go to this idea of the Lakota people and what they teach, and the many indigenous people that teach something very similar, but I want to use for you this morning the medicine wheel as a teaching tool. I had the great pleasure of being with our children, I don't know, was that the week before last, whenever I was invited in to come talk to them about Native American tradition, and what I chose was the medicine wheel, because that's the foundation of what I've learned from that culture. And it absolutely applies and fits perfectly into the science of mind. So let's look at this thing. This is the basic idea of the medicine wheel. It is designed to represent 4 aspects of life, and saying that there's a balance between these 4, an elegant balance between these 4, and that there is a cyclical motion to them. And in the traditions of the Lakota and many of the Native American communities, we start in the East. We start in the East and understand what the East represents in this wholeness of life. And the East is represented by the color white. It is the idea of new beginnings. It's the idea of a starting point. It's the idea of a self-awareness of spirit. Now that may seem funny to you because what we find is, as adults, is that we are spending a lot of time trying to remember that we're spirit. Children don't have that problem. When you're born into a human experience, that's all you know. You have to kind of unlearn that to be in the physical universe. But the truth is that you are pure spirit, and children know this. They know it absolutely. And then we all, as we grow, tend to forget. So the starting point is that place of absolute spirit, that place of knowing who we are in that perfect awareness. The totem of which means the symbol, the animal symbol of the East, is the great eagle. And I love to say it's the great eagle because that's the one that flies the highest. That's the one that sees the farthest. That's the one that has great vision to see what life is about. I've read, and I can't possibly even remember the incredible ability that eagles have to see. Miles and miles they can see a field mouse. They can see so well that they use that skill to create an incredible world that carries them so high. And certainly humans in our way of having contraptions and such have figured out how to get further up in the atmosphere than eagles, but not on our own. You know, we had to think our way into those experiences where the eagle does it naturally. So the eagle brings us that great beginning point, that place of beginning and then beginning again, of understanding that from pure spirit we can create something extraordinary. And that's what we learn in the East. In the South, with that color yellow, we find that there is a richness that comes from the South. The South is that place of growth and expansion. It's that place of the heart. It's that place where we open to the fullness and richness of life. It's the place where we experience family. We do that in the South, that place of growth where parents are doing everything to support the growth and development of their children. And that's not just humans. That's all species do that. That place where life becomes its richest. It's represented by the summer. East is represented by the spring. The South is represented by summer. That place of lushness and fullness and richness. That's what comes to us in the South, and it's such a logical thing that we come into life and then we expand into this full expression of life. And then from the South, we move to the West, and the West is a most interesting place. I'm going to have to go back because I didn't give you the totem of the South. You don't have to move it back. Just for the South, so that you're clear, there are many animals that represent the South. The one that I often relate to is the field mouse, because the field mouse gives itself so completely to the ongoing experience of those around them, because the field mouse is food for a lot of other species. So the field mouse is the big giveaway that gives away its life so completely. But it could also be the deer or the fox or several other animals that could represent the South. In the West, this is where it gets really interesting. The West is the place of strength, inner strength, perseverance. This is a place where problems appear to be. If you ever hear a native person say, "I'm sitting in the West," step away. Because they're working on something and it's not necessarily pleasant. But the beauty of this is that I absolutely believe there's nothing happening in our lives that we can't learn from. There's nothing going on that is happening because we're meant to struggle. That's not true. What we're meant to do is understand how powerful we are, how strong we are, how clear we can be, and to move into that higher level of understanding ourselves, that higher level of self-awareness, to be in the physical form and to face some obstacle. You're sitting in the West. And that's the place where you go inside and you find that strength. Sort of the way the great bear, who is the totem of the West, goes into the cave to hibernate, to become introspective, to find that presence, that power that is always there, that is always present, and to find whatever it is that needs to be known about oneself so that they can move through whatever the obstacle is. It's a wonderful teaching, and it points out that life isn't necessarily meant always to be easy, but it's always meant to be helpful in helping us observe who we are, helping us understand and reflect on who we are. And we are magnificent beings. So to be able to be in the West is not a problem as much as it's an opportunity to get clear. We get clear from the things that we call problems. We understand who we are. We understand that we create our experience in the West, and that's a powerful place to be. And then we move to the North. In the North, in this particular model, we use the cord ladder. And the reason for that would be that the North represents that great place of wisdom. And that place of wisdom is a brilliant opportunity to be clear about who we are and to use the experience and the wisdom of our lives to share with others. It's something that the South and the North have in common, are that they absolutely are the places of the great giveaway. The physical giveaways are in the South, and the mental giveaways are in the North. The great teachers are in the North. And the totem of the North is the buffalo. And the buffalo teaches us how to give away, because it gives itself completely away to the people of the plains. It's a wonderful teaching. And from that place of that great wisdom, we complete our work, and then we move back to the East. We move back to the East into that place where we again begin. We begin. But the thing about it is, in this flat model of a medicine wheel, and by the way, the colors arranged, they're different with every tribe and every community. So if you're going, no, that's not the right color, don't worry about it. They're different everywhere. It doesn't really matter. The point is that there is this progressive movement through life in a circular motion. And this circle continues. But when you again find yourself in the East, it's not the same place. It's a different place. Because life is not stagnant. Life is expanding. And we are expanding beings of love and light. So that when we come to that place in the East again, and we call it a new beginning, it's a new beginning in a new place that we have never been before. Which makes us think that this isn't so much a wheel or a circle or a hoop as much as it might be a spiral. A spiral. And the elegance of the spiral is that throughout the universe, spirals appear. And I believe that our lives are spirals, and that we are in that movement of ever-increasing awareness of our spiritual nature. And that we go through these cycles so that we can see that. Now here's the thing that I've discovered in my life is that as I go through this cycle and I go back to the East and find myself in a state of new beginnings, I think, okay, I've got all that stuff behind me. I've handled it. I don't have to think about that anymore. How's that working for you, John? I think any of us could say that every time that we claim that something is absolutely handled in our lives, it's like the next thing that happens. So what does that mean? Well, we do not come to the same challenge, the same person when we go around the wheel. We come new, with a new sense of ourselves, and we bring that sense to carry us higher. Some people go, my problems keep getting worse, and my answer is you must be growing. Because you're being called to see your magnificence, your spiritual magnificence, through this circumstance that has been created. Who created it? Well, you created it. I would never create this. Well, of course you did. Who else did? That's how it works. We are circles inside of circles, creating these wonderful experiences in our lives. And we bring those experiences that we have to what is next. So when something shows up about relationships, or about health, or about how we express into the world, or about our finances, that's okay. That's okay. Now we bring everything that we have been to that moment to understand who we are at this even higher, more expansive level. And that's the work, is to continually do that. As I was looking at this beautiful model and thinking about it, I said, why are you, John, observing this? Why is this so important to you? Why are you in this place right now? And it was pretty easy to find it. I didn't want to find it, but I did. It's because I keep doing this thing in my life. I keep putting myself out there and saying, I want to serve. I want to serve. And when I was in high school, I was a sophomore, and I ran for the position of junior class secretary. That's as high as I could imagine myself going, was being secretary of the class. 3 girls ran for it too, so I had an easy in. The girl vote split. And there were some good-looking girls too. But I won that election. I thought, wow, that wasn't so hard. I gave a little speech. You know, we had 1,200 people in my class. I had a big high school. But I got through the speech. I was terrified, but I got through it. And they elected me. I said, okay, that works. So the next year, when I'm a junior, I ran for senior class president. And I got beat. I was beat by a guy who had just showed up to school, but he was gorgeous. He wasn't a good leader, but he looked good. And I watched that, and I thought about what is this about for me? And it was interesting because they also at the same time elected a guy to be the student council president who was the drummer in a rock band. He had hair down to here. And he was a cool dude, but he wasn't really good with his studies, so when he didn't make it, they asked him to step down. And the vice president, who was a good friend of mine, became the president, and I was asked to be the vice president. So I still got to serve. I didn't get elected to that position, but I got to serve, and that was fun, and that was interesting. I left high school, and I didn't think about running for anything again. Oh, well, I did. That's a lie. I thought someday I would run for some political office, and I so admire you, Mr. Mayor, for your ability to do that. And people like you have helped me understand I don't ever want to do that. Well, when I got involved in this movement 10, 11 years ago, we had been in Miami, we left it, and then I suddenly found myself back in the middle of it, this newly created United Church of Religious Science, and I wanted to play. And I was invited. I did not self-nominate. I was nominated to the what they called the core council. That was the governing body, to be a candidate for that position. And I showed up in Las Vegas, Nevada, and stood next to two of the most well-known people in the movement, and somehow thought I had a prayer of getting elected. Silly me. And I was not elected. They were. And I said, okay. So I started involving myself in all kinds of other activities of the movement. I served in just virtually everything you could imagine. I learned so much about the organization, about how it was structured and all. And I knew there was this other thing out there called Religious Science International, but that was not where I was, yet I knew that that was something important. And 5 years into this, the woman that had been elected the community spiritual leader was running for re-election. Things had not been going really well in the administration, and no need to get into that, but I had some judgment about it and decided to run. Well, that worked fine until I went and saw my shaman, and I told him that I was doing this, and he said, what do you want? And I didn't go into all the problems. I knew he would just eat me alive if I did that. What came forth instantly was, I want this organization to be one again. And he said, then go make that happen. So every day for that year that I ran for community spiritual leader, I did not pray to be the spiritual leader. I treated and prayed that we were one. And I was not elected. Kathy was re-elected. And I remember standing on the stage and telling everybody, and those of you who were here cheered, that I was still a minister here. So that was a good day. But 2 months after I did that, there was an announcement that there had been a breakthrough in the conversation about bringing the two organizations back together. And I immediately scurried to the powers that be and said, I want to play. I was told no. But I held to that, and within a year I was invited to come. If I would pay my own way to the meetings in LA, I could be on the team. And I was on the team. And then it evolved into another team, and I was on that team. And I had this incredible journey of seeing something amazing happen. I ran for court council, and I was elected to that. So I've had the opportunity of serving. And it's been a remarkable run. But you'd think I'd had enough by now, right? Because last February, everybody came together and voted in this new organization. And here I am today telling you that in a little over 2 weeks, I will be asking people to elect me as president of this new organization. Crazy. You know, when do you have enough of this? Well, somehow it just feels like it's mine to do. And whether it is or not will be determined by those beloveds who come to New Orleans here in a couple of weeks. But this is the last chance I got to talk to you before I go, so I want to let you know. I don't have an answer. I will not be leaving. It doesn't require, if I'm elected, that I leave this community. I can serve here and serve in that position. I'm making myself available, and I'm learning about myself every day. I'm in that spiral, and it keeps growing. It keeps expanding. And I'm so grateful that you have been along on this ride with me. So I want to let you know that you too are living in a spiral. that you are going around that wheel and things are happening. Sometimes you're growing, sometimes you're finding a way through some challenge. Whatever it is that you're doing is important to your expansion and the gift that you are into the world. It's important that you pay attention to that and you don't see the things that are happening around you as a problem. You see them as a blessing. And whatever happens in New Orleans in a couple of weeks will be a blessing in my life. And I believe it'll be a blessing in the life of this community. So we're going to go do it and see what happens. And I love you all, and I want you just to have that with you, that idea that you're on this journey, this incredible journey of awakening. Isn't it wonderful?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's keep doing it together. I love you very much.